The Kane 44 is a futuristic AK variant. It's chiefly based off of the AK-12, but unlike the AK-12, it does not have an ambidextrous charging handle. It only has one on the right side, like the traditional AKs. It also has distinct features such as the 7.62 style magazine, a more diagonal stock similar to that of the original AK-47, and also has a deeper magazine as well. The XR2 is a futuristic bullpup rifle that seems to be loosely based on the Tavor. You can see the similarities in the square stock, the handle, the holes on the side of the gun. One major difference between the two guns is that with the XR2, the charging handle is closer to the end of the gun than it is with the Tavor. The Tavor's charging handle is closer to the barrel. The HVK appears to be a carbine FN-FAL derivative with diagonally sloped upper receiver, typical of modern FAL derivatives like the SC-2010 or DSA SA-58 OSW. The receiver is then buried under a variety of futuristic bits. The ICR-1 is a more futuristic version of the HK-416 that replaced the original placeholder, and given its relatively low damage and high accuracy, it is a spiritual successor to the M27 from Black Ops 2. The Man-O-War is basically a futuristic version of the ACR. You can really only see the similarities between the two in the sight placement, but that's about it. Like the HVK-30, the Man-O-War is covered in a bunch of futuristic bits, so it doesn't look anything like an ACR. The M8A7 seems to be designed after the H&K SL8. Its name implies that it's a descendant of the identically functioning M8A1, which is more based on the H&K XM8, though the weapon does have a side-mounted charging handle instead of a top one. The Shiva is probably supposed to be a successor of the SVU or SMR from Black Ops 2. It's buried under a bunch of chunky future establishments, so it's kind of hard to tell what it is. But however, given the reuse of the reloading animation of the SMR, it seems like it's more likely based on the SMR. The MR6 seems to be based on the fictional Lawgiver Mark II from the movie Dread, which was built on a Glock 17, incorporating features from the Lawgiver such as its digital display on the side of the gun. The RK5 seems to be loosely based on the H&K USP match with an extended magazine and appears to be two-toned. The LCAR-9 is a fully automatic machine pistol that seems to be based primarily on the VBR Belgian PDW. These similarities are because of the awkward shape that both the weapons have. The Kuda is simply a futurized H&K UMP. It looks most like the UMP-45. The VMP seems to be based on the Beretta MX-4 Storm. However, it's identical to the MP7 from Black Ops 2, an SMG with a 40-round magazine and a high fire rate. The Weevil appears to be primarily based on the FNP-90TR, but from the side it looks like some kind of pistol with a suppressor and lamb reminiscent of the H&K Mark 23 with a large carbine stock. The Vesper seems to be an even more futuristic version of the modified Jiangxi Type 5 that was in Black Ops 2, which was called the Shikam. The Pharaoh visually most resembles the Ruger MP9, but it also appears to be the spiritual successor of the MSMC from Black Ops 2. The Razorback seems to be based on the Thor PDW, a fictional weapon using TDI Vector style offset recoil mechanism. It was created by Crytek designer Pascal Eggert. The KRM-262 appears to be somewhat based on the FP6 from Ghost. Notably, it reuses the firing animation of the Remington 870 from Black Ops 2. The 205 Brecci doesn't seem to have a real-life counterpart to it, but the weapon seems to be modeled after Black Ops 2's Remington 870. The Haymaker 12-2 doesn't have a real-life counterpart, it just looks to be modeled after an assault rifle like the ACR. The Argus is a futuristic shotgun that seems to be based on the Winchester Model 1887. When aiming down sights it fires slugs, so it's notable to say that it's a spiritual successor to the KSG from Black Ops 2. The BRM has a minimal base design, but with the sliding stock it looks like an M249 Saw paratrooper with an ammo drum. The Dingo is another minimally based design, but it's worth noting that its ammo drum is mounted diagonally, similar to that of a Zenith bullpup kit for a PKP Pecheneg. The Gorgon actually seems to be based on an anti-material rifle given a muzzle brake in a barrel and turned into an LMG. It's possibly based on the Blazer R93 sniper rifle. The 48 Dredge is a futuristic FN Minimi design and it's loosely based on the M249E2. The Draken appears to be a combination of an FG42 and a WA2000. The Locust is modeled on the FN Ballista. This is especially notable when you look at the gun's lower and the stock. The P06 is primarily based on the Keltec RFB carbine. The SVG-100 doesn't seem to have a real base. Essentially the rifle is a self-chambering bolt-action anti-material rifle. Okay, at this point I'm going to be talking about the two guns in Shadows of Evil, and I'm going to be talking about black market items that got added in the updates. The first gun I'm going to be talking about is the Bootlegger. The Bootlegger is exclusive to Shadows of Evil, and it's primarily based on the Sten Mark III, but it also has a pistol grip like that of an Austin Mark I variant. The Bloodhound isn't based on any specific revolver as far as I know, it's just an 8-shot, snub-nose, double-action revolver, and the reason it's on this list is because I think it's fucking cool. The RSA interdiction seems like it's based off the Kel-Tec RFB carbine like the P06, except instead of a magazine it has a cylinder. The Marshall 16 seemed to have been based on the Executioner from Black Ops 2, which is in real life the Taurus Raging Judge. And it's also worth noting that the two barrels arrange in an over-under configuration and pivot out left rather like the barrel of the H&K AG-36 grenade launcher. The MX Garand is just a futuristic version of the M1 Garand. The HG-40 is just a futuristic version of the MP-40. The FFAR is just a futuristic version of the FAMAS. And finally, the Rift E9 and the Banshee don't really have anything that could be them in real life, they're just plasma weapons.